Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. The number one world ranking is up for grabs in Wellington this weekend. The Springboks can retake the number one spot after almost a 1 month hiatus since losing it if they are to be victorious over in New Zealand, with the All Blacks retaining the number one spot as long as they avoid defeat, and a couple of other permutations as we kind of ramp up into basically less than sort of probably 10 weeks of international rugby, which will affect these rankings. And then we have the World Cup draw at the end of the year, which will be absolutely huge. And these rankings play a big part in terms of the seedings you have going into that World Cup draw. The higher ranked you are at the end of the year, the fewer higher ranked teams in theory you should face. That is the theory. Obviously, this is still 2 years out from the World Cup. Previously, it used to be even more than that, which is why the 2023 World Cup was so uneven. And we ended up having Scotland, Ireland, and South Africa in the same pool. In theory, that kind of thing could still happen if there were massive shifts in the world rankings, but far less likely with the amount of rugby that we've got to play in the next year or two as well. So before we get to it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, let's get into the permutations, shall we? So, as mentioned, South Africa will reclaim their status as the number one team if they beat New Zealand and retain the Freedom Cup. A bit of extra stuff on the line for the Boks. They finally got the Freedom Cup back last year for the first time in over a decade. A loss tomorrow would mean that they would lose it. If they were to win, however, they would retain it because you have to win it outright. And that was kind of always the problem, is because All Blacks had it, we had to go and beat them twice in a row, which we generally just didn't. Last year we did, and therefore we kept it. But we lose tomorrow, we lose that Freedom Cup. If beaten, New Zealand will drop to second or third if we win by more than 15 points. So a very big incentive for the All Blacks, just to make sure that even if they lose, keep it tight, because then they go down to third place. If they win against the Springboks, they will increase their advantage top of the rankings to 2.02 points. I mean, that's huge. It shows you, for example, how unforgiving these rankings are. The Boks have that kind of lead, lose a couple of games. I think they lost to Australia, probably the big one, and now lost back-to-back. And all of a sudden, the All Blacks have surged and will go to the top with their margin as well. So in terms of Australia, they cannot improve on their sixth place, as they will only gain a maximum of 0.67 rating points, given the fact that they are playing at home against Argentina. And that is not enough to catch England, and therefore they will remain sixth even if they win. However, if they lose, they will drop to seventh, and Los Pumas will go up to sixth, which is the band one for the World Cup 2027. So that's kind of, you want to be in the top six to get into that top band. Argentina cannot fall from seventh this weekend, even if they lose by more than 15 points. So nothing to lose, everything to gain for Felipe Contepone's men. A win would put them above Australia, but a loss, they wouldn't actually lose anything. So nothing to worry about from their regard with this weekend. But obviously a big opportunity to gain some places, and especially with Australia having to then play 2 games against the All Blacks. If Argentina, for example, were to beat South Africa, Australia were to lose twice, Argentina could very much be in the running to go into a top 5, for example, top 4 maybe even at the end of the year, with the right results. Fiji, which is the highest ranked team in the Pacific Nations Cup currently happening, cannot improve their rating in the victory, given the 21.34 point advantage over their semi-final opponents, Canada. A win for Canada would result in a 2-place rise to 22nd, which would lift them above Belgium and Hong Kong, China, in case you are wondering. However, Fiji will remain ninth in their title defense is ended by Canada. So they can't improve their rating, but they also can't do it down. So they will remain in the top 10. The Pacific Nations Cup, the runners-up, Japan, also cannot gain to catch Wales in 12th, even if they beat Tonga by more than 15 points, which is the other semi-final. However, Samoa can replace Japan in 13th if they win their 5th place playoff with the USA, which would secure them qualification to the Men's World Cup as well. So big opportunity for Samoa to book their spot to the 2027 World Cup, assuming the Brave Blossoms are beaten, providing that one team the margin is more than 15 points. So lots to go on the table in terms of the Pacific Nations Cup with regards to qualification to 2027 World Cup. Tonga need to beat Japan by more than 15 points to leapfrog Spain and move up to 15th, and this would become 14th for them if Samoa lose by the same margin to USA and they win. USA will climb at least 2 places above both Portugal and Uruguay to 17th if they beat Samoa and secure qualification for Rugby World Cup 2027, which is a very important qualification given the fact that they are hosting the World Cup after that. So quite important for them, to be fair. In terms of some of the other ones, the only one is Tonga lose, then the men's Eagles can climb another one place if they win by more than 15 points. So lots on the line this weekend. In terms of your match official highlights, Christopher Ridley will referee Australia versus Argentina. Nika Amashikeli from Georgia will officiate the Box versus the All Blacks. Damien Schneider will referee Samoa versus USA. Luke Ramos from France will take charge of Tonga versus Japan, whilst Egan Cross will referee Fiji for the first time when they take on Canada. So that is the world rankings permutations. That is kind of what's out there. What do we think? What are some of the early predictions, for example? What are we thinking? Are we going to see a couple of upsets, for example? Could we see a lot of different movement in the world rankings, and particularly in the top rankings? Are we going to see the Springboks go to the top of the log, or will we see them remain at third, where we are at the moment? And definitely need to try and get up to that number one spot, especially with how difficult our end of year tour is. So let me know what you think and your predictions down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll see you guys all tomorrow for back to back rugby. So much rugby tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. if you're in South Africa, finishing at about 9 p.m. with Currie Cup semi-finals. Plenty to watch and plenty to get behind. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow for a full day of coverage. As mentioned, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steve, and we'll see you guys all soon.